What is this dude crawling around on the... Look at... Do you see this? You see this? He's...
Is up, Gorilla Nation? It is Relentless here, bringing you yet another Division 2 build video. But if you happen to be new to the channel, or you're just enjoying the content, then please be sure to ground and pound that like and subscribe button. Also, reach up there, trigger the bell, and turn on post notifications, so that way you never miss a live stream or a video that is uploaded. Quick announcement, the PS4 4v4 tournament is going down December the 7th at 8 p.m. Eastern. The cutoff date for registration is December the 1st. So be sure to sign up if you are interested in participating. That video is specifically titled PS4 Tournament Details. Just click on it and it'll walk you through how to sign up. And if you want to contribute or help sponsor either this event or future events, then you can leave your info in the comment section below, or you can hit me up on the DMs and the Twitter sphere. But anyways, I'm going to send you over to some gameplay and then we're going to hop into the build. We'll see you guys back here in just a moment.
Testify!
Hallelujah!
Perfect! He got destroyed! Dead. Yep, here comes one.
Shit.
I'm off.
Good shit.
Yeah, how'd that work out for you, dumbass? Fucking idiot. Just cause you got a double barrel? Get fucking melted, kid.
But as you can see, it does definitely hold its own and it is a lot of fun. And if with my mediocre PvP skills, if I can do a pretty good job, PvPing and utilizing this, then those of you out there that have better PvP skills than what I do, and of course better pieces, then you'll be even more effective than I am in the dark zone. But also keep in mind, this build is tailored to my playstyle and my mediocre PvP skills. So if you have better pieces, of course, naturally, your stats are going to reflect that. And of course, if you're better at PvP, which most are than I am, then you're going to do considerably much better at PvP with this particular build. So let's hop into it. Now, the other iteration that I have on the channel, as far as the Reaper of builds, is utilizing the Bloodsucker with the 3-piece True Patriot. And then I was asked to do more or less a Berserk version of this, so here I give you 3 pieces of Hildegard, 2 True Patriot, and 1 Petrov. So let's hop into the weapons first. I was actually able to come across a better RPK. The other one that I was using was a 497 gear score, and it was only hitting for, I believe, 26.1. So I actually crafted one, and the very first one I crafted actually already had Unhinged, Allegro, and Wascally. No, not the rabbit, the gun talent. And of course, it is at 28.9, almost 3K higher than the previous one that I was actually using. And of course, the attachments are as followed, as you see on your screen. And of course, my secondary, it would be the Pestilence, 30.1K. And of course, Plague of the Outcast, the Pestilence debuff, reduces healing received by 50% for 10 seconds. Whenever an enemy with Pestilence would be downed, they are instead instantly killed. The debuff is removed if the enemy is repaired to full armor. But as far as your secondary, you can use any particular LMG, whatever your personal preference is. It's just, I think the RPK is definitely underutilized and is up on the top echelon of the LMGs just for the sake of the RPM. And if you get the one with the right rolls on it, and of course with the unhinged and Allegro 715 RPM, it has a little less RPM than the MG5, but it has half the reload time, as well as going in conjunction with all the other LMGs that have a considerably higher reload time, 5.5 seconds versus 3.3 seconds. So it is a big difference. And of course 65 in the magazine. And of course the sidearm is also to your personal preference. You can use grease here, you can use protected reload. It all depends on what you want to use. So let's hop into the build. Now on the mask starting out, we have 7% crit chance and 26,831 health. And the offensive mod slot, we have 5.5% LMG damage. On the second piece of True Patriot, we have 16% crit chance and 18,834 health. Now, if I'm able to find a holster that has much higher health values, even by 10,000, I believe the max is around 50,000. So even 10,000 more, mixed with the percentages of health that you actually have on the build, then my health can actually be much greater than what it is. And in turn, your survivability increases, and the longer you're able to have the Berserk proc fully blown, then the more damage you're going to be outputting. And of course, the two mod slots we have in it, in the first one we have 5.5% LMG damage, in the second one another 5.5 LMG damage. Now let's talk about Berserk. Now there are several opinions going around as far as how to best utilize Berserk. So let's read the talent, and it's kind of common sense. 8% weapon damage for every 20% max armor depleted. So common sense would say you would want your armor depleted so that way you can take the full-blown potential of Berserk. All your armor gone, then Berserk is at its premium, its best it possibly can be when you have no armor. Now, some have put out build videos with Berserk where they'll have, a minimum of like around 400k armor, but then they only have 20,000 health. I think his name's Patrick. Silly Patrick. That is the worst idea ever known to man, of stacking nothing but armor and no health whatsoever. Because basically, you're going to get a minuscule, maybe 10 to 20% weapon damage out of the Berserk, and then once all your armor is gone, then you're basically dead because you have such a minimum amount of health. Now one can say you can use a hive, and that kind of is counterintuitive when it comes to Berserk and things of that nature, because that damage is going to constantly be fluctuating. So it makes more sense to go more into health, at least in my opinion anyways, over 100,000 health when using Berserk, and then stack on the armor, because you want to get the most bang for your buck when it comes to Berserk. That's why most effective Berserk builds have really, really high health and, just as much armor as they possibly can, but their main focus is on health. The only exceptions, in my opinion, are when it comes to the likes of shotguns. And the reason for this is shotguns have a higher base damage. 2 to 300k is a lot different than 18 to 20k with the likes of, let's say, an AR or SMG, or even 30k from an LMG. That's a big, huge step. So 10% of, say, 200k shotgun is a much bigger chunk than 10% of 20k coming from an AR, SMG, or LMG. So you can necessarily go more armor over health with a shotgun, but you still, when it comes to like AR, SMGs, you want to value health over armor. But I know what you're going to say, but relentless. ARs have that built-in 29% damage to health, so you'd actually want some, some armor. That is definitely the case. So that is why I'm at 378k armor and 143k health. If I'm able to get at least 20 to 30k more health, then I am comfortable there. But your health is your main thing and your first primary focus. And then everything else above and beyond definitely go into armor, because armor and health are essentially can absorb the same amount of damage, and the only difference between the two is when somebody has like a shotgun with a damage to armor, or mods that have damage to armor, or the AR with the baked in damage to health, or the damage to health mods that you can actually get. So those are the two things that only affect armor and health differently than just base damage. If you don't have damage to armor or damage to health, then the damage you are absorbing, the armor can do and absorb the same amount as health can. So it's up to personal preference, but the best way, I would say, to get the most potential out of Berserk is health over armor. But the way the meta is currently, as far as it's fluctuating, some people say it's Negotiator's Dilemma. I think that's incorrect. It's more along the lines of Berserk Clutch, because you see a lot more of that. But I guess it also depends on what platform you're on. I'm on PS4, so we do come across Negotiator's Dilemma, but not as much as just the pure Berserk Clutch. But anyways, enough of my rambling. This particular chest piece has 10,822 health, 20% crit chance, and 10.5% weapon damage. We have 2 defensive and an offensive mod slot. In the first defensive mod slot, we have 4865 armor, 2736 health, and 3.5% total armor. In the offensive mod slot, we have 6% LMG damage, for a total of 16.5% weapon damage just on my chest piece. And in the second defensive mod slot, we have 5991 armor, 3% total armor, and then 2149 health. Now, when it comes to explosive resistance, that is on the defensive mods, you can, like if you run across more explosive builds in the dark zone, like hives, things of that nature, then you can substitute and just switch out your defensive mods and add on explosive resistance. But moving on to our backpack. Backpack 14,215 armor, 20.5% total armor, 20,791 health, vital, and skilled. Now, I am looking for the same identical backpack. I mean, I would be happy with the same stats, but I would actually go in a different route because I have a talent on there that I'm not utilizing. I would much rather go with a backpack like is on this. As you can see, my health did go up. I mean, my armor go up, but my health went down, but my damage is considerably a lot more, just because I want to be able to utilize Spark. So if I can get Spark on my other backpack, because both backpacks have an offensive and a defensive, then I would be much, much happier. I mean, if this one just was able to have Vital on it in place of the Hardened, then that would put my health back to in the 140 range, bring my armor back down to the 179 or 379, 380 range, and that would be my comfortable spot where I'd like to more or less be. But as is, I'm using this one because it's still just as good. It's just instead of skilled, I would like Spark there, just for the extra damage. And even if I don't utilize the Merciless or you don't have one, then just, hitting somebody with grenades can proc Spark. So it's good to either have a talent that you can somewhat use in different situations, such as, grenade damage or explosive damage, in order to get that extra damage. But to have one like skilled on it and just be read out and not utilized whatsoever, then it is necessarily a waste of a spot. But if that's the best you have, then use it until you find a replacement, just like I am. But with the 2 mod slots, I have 6% LMG damage in the first one, and in the second mod slot, 5128 armor, 3% total armor, and then 4% explosive resistance. Now for the third piece of Healer Guard, which is I'm not getting anything out of it except for Pulse Skill Power for having a 3-piece, but I'm not using Pulse. But the reason I am using the Healer Guard Kneepads is because of the 2 defensive mod slots. Now if you prefer, you could go with the likes of a Patriot Kneepads and then swap out a mask or a holster for Healer Guard if you wanted. But the 2-piece, or I should say the True Patriot Kneepads, will have a defensive and an offensive, and then you're not allowed or don't have a talent. So for the extra damage, I went with Composure. While in cover, grants 10% total weapon damage to even further my damage output, 13.5% total armor, and of course the mod slots, 6337 armor, 2.5% total armor, 3% explosive resistance. And the second one, 5644 armor, 3% total armor, and then 3% explosive resistance. But like I said, if your playstyle you don't like or don't want to use Composure and you prefer the other way, so that way you have another offensive and a defensive mod slot, I guess it all depends on your stats and your personal preference. But I actually prefer the Healer Kneepads here over the likes of the True Patriot, just for simple stat reasons. Now, if I had better rolls on other pieces, then, I could make the argument and play around with it and actually see, which is actually better, when it comes to my personal playstyle. But it's all up to you. Now, the only piece of one pet drop that I have gives you 10% weapon damage. And this one I get 11% LMG damage, and then 5386 health, and surgical, 10% critical hit chance. Now, I have been playing around with these gloves here. As you see, I had 10% LMG damage, and I'm thinking about putting crit chance on that and running the gloves, so that way I can utilize a different mask and actually get some hazard protection out of it as well. But currently, I have not been able to find no really viable Petrov mask. As you can see, that one has the insulated on it, but it's geared to skill power, and then I could put crit chance on it here, but then as you see on the left, my health will drop. Of course, the armor is going to drop because this is where the 2-piece True Patriot is, the second piece. So the stats are reflecting that 10% damage, 10% total armor is not there. So we're just more or less focusing on the health. This only has 4857 health on kill, no health on it whatsoever. So this one wouldn't be a really good piece of Petrov. So once I find one that has, I would be happy with just 15k health on it, then roll on crit chance, and then actually have insulated, and then, I would be hunky-dory. But until that happens, this way I have it here is really effective. Now, the specialization that I'm using is the gunner. Now, you could have different personal preferences, but when it comes to more or less the gunner and this talent tree, for being stationary momentarily, you gain weapon handling. And of course, when you put on an armor kit, you gain a 50% bonus proc of armor. So that 378, you get 50% more armor than that for a few seconds, but it definitely can come in handy. And when it comes to skills, it depends on whatever you choose to run. I have the Defender drone and of course a Chem. But since I have no skill power whatsoever, at least the Defender drone gives me a little bit of defense, and then with having very low heals, yes, definitely wants to be ran in a squad. But as you saw, just in a 2-man, I do just well on my own, and that's where that 50% bonus armor comes in handy when you apply an armor kit. But definitely go try it out. It is loads of fun. It does do tons and tons of damage. And I know, before I forget, let me go over the stat sheet. As you can see, 53% crit chance on the Pestilence, 58 on the RPK. When it comes to all weapon damage bonus, 37%, and then 58% on the LMG. And that total of 95% weapon damage, which is great. It definitely comes in handy. No damage to elite since this is a PvP build. Vital, True Patriot, and there is everything else. Now, 10.59% explosive resistance, so very minuscule, but that 10% definitely does help it a lot. But I do have other mods that have greater explosive resistance. There's 3 that I do not have any explosive resistance on. So if I do come in contact with like negotiators or a lot of seeker builds, even the mortar turret or even bombardier drone, things of that nature, that I can always supplement some of those defensive bots out for even more explosive resistance. I believe with the mods that I have, I can reach 28% explosive resistance without having the result of, without having to go to the 2-piece negotiator's dilemma that only gives you 30. But now I'm going to go over to the firing range and show you the full-blown proc of Berserk along with the composure, so that way you can see the damage there. So I'll see you guys. So first I'm going to walk over here, damage myself to where I have no armor. That is a full-blown proc of Berserk. I am in cover, which gives me composure. 57, not too bad. And then of course, if you all know, when it comes to like any LMGs with unhinged, but once you get just midway, really just over, see how many bullets it actually takes for the reticle to go down. So roughly about 15 bullets, and then as you can see, the accuracy definitely comes into play. But this is more like a mid-range to close-up kind of up gun weapon when it comes to the LMG. But I mean, once playing with it and getting used to the recoil, I mean, you can still beam, it just takes some practice to get used to that recoil, but it is very, very manageable just by, you know, weapon mods that you actually can put on the weapon. But I hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope you actually try it out. It is a lot of fun and it does a lot of damage. But thank you guys so much for tuning in. We'll see you fudging later.